Adventures in Gaming
with Big Man Anthony
and Little Man George.
Do
you want to talk about video games?
Let's talk about video games.
So there's a patent that came out that shows Nintendo is basically planning on using the new Joy-Cons for the Switch 2 as a mouse. So it's basically confirmed now.
Okay.
You excited about that?
Yeah, no, I'm excited. I want the mouse to happen.
Yeah, what are you going to play first with your mouse Joy-Con?
I don't know. Like I can see, I want to test it out on first-person shooters because it is easier to use a mouse for first-person shooters. That's one. What's another thing that's good for mouse? Oh, games like The Sims and games like where it's like more computer-based games. Like The Sims is one of them. That's really good. Though on the Nintendo has a touchscreen, so it makes it kind of simple too.
Yeah, but they don't really use the touchscreen much because they want the experience to be the same on the handheld and in docked mode. And you don't get touchscreen in docked mode because it's on the television.
Yeah.
And they announced the time for the Switch 2 Direct on April 2nd, 9 a.m.
9 a.m.
9 a.m. They didn't say how long it would be. Usually they
wait,
tell
when is it?
April 2nd at 9 a.m.
Wow. I gotta start moving. Like I wanted to give my daughter the Switch OLED and her keep, but you know why she doesn't want to trade it in? Like why she doesn't want to swap? She doesn't want to lose her stuff on her island.
Yeah, her Animal Crossing island.
Yeah, and then she's like, I like the smaller size. No, I don't want.
But she has a Switch Lite or a Switch OLED.
She's a Lite, and I wanted to give her my OLED. And
you
then
could transfer it.
Really?
Yeah. I transferred my island from the original Switch to the Switch OLED.
Okay. Well, you got to teach me.
There's a way to do it. There's a way to do it. It doesn't transfer with everything else, but they walk you through it. I did it.
That's cool. I definitely want to do it. I want to do that. I want to transfer all her stuff over so that way she would have it. But now she's also arguing that she likes the smaller size, which I make sense because she has smaller hands and stuff. But I'm gonna see if I can convince her because I think the OLED is just a better, way better, like screen.
It's a better screen,
device.
but the Lite is more like a real portable.
Yeah, I think that's what she likes about it. Yeah, they're gonna have to make on the Switch 2 a light version because,
I have a question.
That is interesting, though, right? To think about.
It is, and let me ask you this: it's going to be a two-part question. I hope you studied.
Okay.
Do you think the Switch Pro that never came out was real? It never came out, but it was rumored like crazy.
Yeah,
it was all over social media for a year. Never came out.
Yeah, I really think I think Nvidia let them down because Nvidia didn't have the chip ready for them, and I think that they were hoping that Nvidia would have had it ready by then. And I think that between that and COVID, I think they just didn't release it because they didn't have the chip, and they just said, you know what? I think it's enough just with the screen, the smaller bezels, the better kickstand, and all the little things it came with. I think in the end, they just said, let's release it this way, and they've done things like that before.
Pro kind of turned into the Switch OLED. That's what you think?
I think that's what happened. What do you think? Do you think it was designed, or you think it was always designed to be the OLED?
That's the question.
I know. That's what I'm asking.
I don't think we'll ever know.
What's your opinion on it?
I mean, there were so many people, so many like reputable people saying that there is a Switch Pro in the works, and I think. But
could have that been the Switch 2 that was also in the works, and maybe they were getting it confused? It could have been like because they were showing leaks about Nvidia's new chip and stuff that was coming out. Maybe that's the chip that's on this new Switch 2. And so really it was never designed for that. And maybe the OLED was the original design. I don't know.
Well, I think that the Switch Pro was probably a concept that they had in 2021. That's when the Switch OLED came out. But I think they scrapped it last minute, threw the OLED together basically,
Yeah.
and focused on a next generation Switch, which I think is better now that I think about it, because we're going to get a much bigger upgrade.
Yeah.
Than if we had some sort of mid-gen refresh like a PlayStation 5 Pro. I think this is the better option, even though, it's a longer wait.
Uh-huh.
But the other question is, do you think there will be a Switch 2 Pro?
Switch
I know the Switch 2 isn't even out yet, but
that could be a future thing.
yeah, a future thing. But do you think they'll go from the 2 to the 3?
It could be like a mid tier thing that they could do. But what's more interesting to me, honestly, is would they come out with a Switch Lite too? And the reason why I'm saying that is because a portable is really nice, and not only is it really nice, will it have an OLED screen? Will it be that high quality, or are they going to make it affordable? And also, because if they make it affordable, that's also opening up a market for a lot of people, because the Switch 2 now got a little bit more expensive. And then also about the Switch Lite, which is interesting, is will it fit? Because I mean, maybe the hardware has to be that big now because they made it bigger. Because will all the guts fit? In it.
Well, the rumor is that the Switch 2 does not use an OLED screen.
Oh, so then,
right?
Then definitely they're going to make some OLED model afterwards.
Yeah,
that's messed up. I don't like that. Yeah.
I know some people say that it's like taking a step backwards.
Yeah.
You could look at it that way. It does.
What does it have? An IPS or an LCD? Or I mean, if it was a mini LED, I would be okay with it.
It hasn't been confirmed yet. I think we'll find out on April 2nd. But the rumors are that it's basically like the same thing as the PlayStation Portal.
Okay, PlayStation Portal is not that bad. I played it. It's not that bad. It doesn't look OLED quality, but it's not that bad. The thing about OLED and even mini LED, which is the closest thing to it, is that the colors just seem more saturated, and they also seem like saturated without the whiteness. Because like when you try to saturate like a LCD screen, you get that white, like little whiteness behind it.
Sure.
Also, the other thing about it is it kind of blurs the lines. So it kind of like when you look at an LCD, honestly, they look sharper. You get more details. On an OLED, it has a softer kind of like blendy kind of feeling to it, which I kind of like. I think it looks better that way. It kind of reminds me of CRTs. I like CRTs, like they kind of had that blending kind of effect.
A good CRT is a nice image.
Yeah. Well, I kind of feel like OLED looks like a CRT to be honest with you. And so when I made the move, because I was using plasma and I loved plasma. It was just like
I never owned a plasma. Good. I've seen them,
It was so hard for me to get rid of that plasma because it was such a good screen.
Was it 720?
And it was the best. It was Panasonic. No, it was the 1080.
It was a 1080.
1080, and I was playing next gen systems on my plasma.
What system were you playing on the plasma?
I think the first one was the Xbox.
The original Xbox?
No. I mean, I played
the 360.
Yeah, no, not the original. I played the 360, and then when I got the series,
the Xbox One
X, yeah, no, the Series X, Xbox One, yeah, not the Series X. When I got the Series Xbox One, I was still on the plasma for almost the whole time until I got my Series X. Is when I decided to make the move. That it was necessary to start going 4K and getting all the things, like the 120 and all that. But another thing that plasmas have is that the refresh rate is so much faster than even OLED today. So
did it have an HDMI input?
Yeah,
It
of
was
course.
1800.
Yeah, no, it had all the modern inputs. It was everything modern except for 4K.
Well, yeah, that was
Everything.
before its time.
Everything before 4K. And it even had the darker blacks and like OLED. It
Well,
had
plasma always did.
yeah, yeah.
It always had better contrast.
And honestly, like even my
Well,
OLED.
I had one at work, I used to tell you about it, the plasma at work. That was 720,
Wow, wow.
the
And
plasma.
it looked good though, right? It
It
looked
looked
good.
great. It looked
Yeah.
like they would use it a lot for sports,
Yeah.
um,
Because it was fast
football.
action. See, that's what plasmas are good for.
Yeah.
Anything fast action, it won't break up like that. And even OLED, well, newer like right now, 2025 OLEDs are probably caught up. But even like the first generation OLEDs were not up to par to a plasma. They just had higher resolution and brighter screens. So
Are they
those
going
two
to
things
bring back plasma?
it would be cool, but I heard it's so expensive. But yeah, it'd be cool. They actually did make a 4K plasma, which I was like, oh wow, like I need that. Like I
They were
totally.
thicker though. A plasma TV was thicker.
But it was one of the last generation plasmas, and they were really hard to get. Kind of like that Sony TV, that like 40-incher. That's almost impossible to get.
The HD picture tube or the
CTR,
the CRT HD.
CRTs. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Those
But
things were almost
remember,
all the
I had.
CRT HDs were like almost impossible.
Yeah, but I had one. Remember?
I know, because you were specific, just like me. You would buy weird things like that. Yeah,
But it was the 30-inch.
yeah, yeah. That's
And it
cool.
broke.
That's still cool. You had an HD one.
That's a
Imagine what it looked
conversation
like.
I would actually like to have, and maybe we could do it right now, kind of quick,
Yeah.
because that kind of ties into a topic I wanted to talk about with you. And that is, listen, we've both been playing video games basically since we can remember.
The dawn of era.
Yes. But was there
Yeah.
ever a time where you kind of like took a break from gaming or dipped out?
I did.
Or-
Yeah, I did.
Okay. So for
totally
me, it kind of coincides with that television, the 30-inch Sony
Okay.
CRT HD TV.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to be like inaccurate. I'm going to say it had to be about, so I got it in 2004.
Yeah.
And I would say about somewhere in the next 2.5 to 3 years, it broke.
But what?
Which is-
I mean, to make it more specific, what console era was it? Because for me, it was a series. The
Okay, I'll tell you.
Xbox
No,
One
I'll
X.
tell you.
I bought it. And I remember I
Okay.
kind of like had it for a little bit, then I sold it because I wasn't like, there was that period where I just stopped playing video games for a little bit.
So it was the era of me actually owning all three gaming consoles that were out. It was the PlayStation 3, Xbox 360, Wii generation.
Yeah.
So I had all three of those, which is the only time I've had all three, manufacturer, console maker consoles, the same generation. And when that TV broke, and I think it was is there a part of a TV called a compressor?
What do you mean? Maybe I don't know about that.
Or is it something to do with the power supply?
Okay. Yeah. So maybe,
But
it
not
wasn't.
just the power cord.
Yeah.
It couldn't power on anymore.
No, yeah, the power supply. The power supply is not a cord. It's
Right.
It's the little computer chip that
Box
controls the
inside,
power.
yeah.
Yeah.
So my TV couldn't power on anymore.
Yeah.
I would have to, like, when it started breaking, I would have to hit the power button somewhere between maybe even 10 and 20 times. And if I lucked out, it would turn on.
Oh wow, that's
And I was getting so mad because that was an expensive television.
yeah.
And this is now we're in like maybe 2008, I think,
Yeah.
somewhere, or 2007. And I couldn't get it to power on sometimes at all.
Yeah.
And when I talked to a repair shop about fixing it, the price they gave me was about half the price of the television. And that was an expensive television. And I said, I'm not spending that. I can't,
no.
I can't do it. And I went.
That's when you made the move. That's when you left.
Well, I went without a television, my gaming television,
Okay.
for at least a year. You know, I think even longer. If I had to guess, it might have been about a year and a half.
Yeah.
So I had no television to play any video games on.
Yeah.
Now, I didn't lose interest in video games. I was still on top of everything that was coming out, you know, all the content, reviews. I would still buy games, even though I wasn't playing them. I would actually buy games.
Yeah.
Wii games, PlayStation 3, Xbox 360. I would buy games and not play them. So I had like a stack of games waiting for me one day when I got another television. And I was actually playing the DS a lot at that time and the PSP. So I was playing the DS and the PSP.
Yeah.
Not, you know, on a daily basis or anything, but that's where I was playing my games. And then one day, I forget what game it was, or there's probably a few games at that point that I wanted to play. And I went to Best Buy.
Yeah.
And I bought like the cheapest television I could possibly find.
I think a lot of people did that. I think I tried something like that once. And I think a lot of people did that because TVs started getting pretty decent. I mean, compared to like what it was back in the day when you bought a cheap TV, it was really bad. Like, and they were pretty. I mean, cheap TVs, they weren't the best, but they were still decent. I mean, they were passable.
Yeah, it was like $120.
Oh, they had that sore feeling like I'm not buying such an expensive TV and again so that it's going to break on.
No,
me.
I went the complete opposite direction, and it was like 19, 20 inches.
Yeah.
It was small. It was really light and compact. I was able to just, you know, get it home real easily. But that's what I was using for a long time. I used that for many years. So it was fine. I was able to play my games, you know, but that to me was the era where I played the least amount of games, were those mid years of the Wii 360 PS3 generation. And I was, you know, kind of busy at work too. And that's kind of when my gaming habits switched to playing games at night. You know, when I was younger, I would play games even in the morning sometimes. I play games in the morning whenever I had free time. I kind of got into a routine of playing games pretty late at night, basically before I go to bed. But what about you? What was your reason and that you took a break from gaming?
Well, I just remember that I took a break right when the Xbox One came out.
Okay, so a little bit after my break.
Yeah, so I came back after the Xbox, well, with the Xbox One X, but I also came back because of the Nintendo. Like I was playing during that break, I was actually playing the Nintendo.
Not the Wii U.
The Wii.
Yeah.
The Wii. Yeah. So, and I was loving, like, to me, it was like the future to be able to like use my hands and everything. I kind of miss that, to be honest. I love it, and I wish there was but sometimes the downside is that you have to have a lot of space, you know. You have to move things around. I wish it was
flail around.
I wish it was as simple as like you could be next to the TV and you don't have to, like, it would be able to detect. Like, that would be cool. But, you know, the closest thing to that is VR, which is what I use the Oculus for that. But at the time, I remember, I don't know what it was, but I bought the Xbox, and when I bought it, what I did is I didn't like it, and I remember I just took that. You know how like the price goes up a little when you just buy a new console, like if you didn't get your hands on it. So I just sold it. I don't know. And I remember when I sold it, my cousin's like, "That's crazy. Why did you sell it?" Like, and I didn't see the difference really on like, it was a generation where like I didn't see anything different. But I did sign up for like Game Pass, and it was so funny because I would go on the app and still get my free games every 2 months. So it's just like
that's
you would collect.
That's like me. Like I was still buying games.
Yeah, I was still getting those 2 free games every month And then also, if there was a sale, I would buy the games, and so they were all waiting for me when I got the Xbox One, except I went digital. And when I got the Xbox One X, they were all popped up there, and I was even surprised of all the games that I had at the time. And I had this huge collection when I got the Xbox One X. But it also was because at the time, I remember I was in another country. I was overseas after my dad died, and I was running a company. So I was doing a whole other thing. So for a while, I just kind of like left video games for a bit, but I was still using the Wii. It was like my fun system to invite friends over. You know, we'd have like party drink games, like and playing the Wii. Like, oh, if you lost, you'd have to drink. Like it was just kind of that weird environment that I had with the Wii, like an adult version of fun. But it was still fun. Yeah, you know,
I know
like a
so
different.
many people that had a Wii that would never even like really have a game console. You know?
Yeah, it was a different type of gamer. It was totally a different type of game. Kind of like VR right now is a totally different type of game. You know.
Yeah, which is interesting too because I sent this to you. Did you see that Nintendo released the sales of the Switch? They have surpassed 150 million sold.
Wow. It was a good price though. I don't know how if that's going to be able to be beat with the new price of this new console.
But I was going to say the Wii, which seemed insanely popular, and it was,
Yeah.
that was 101 million.
But there's a difference. I'll tell you what the big difference is. The Switch is portable. So how many kids have lost that? I'm sure they've lost it.
Like repeat
They've
buyers.
left it at a bus. You know, they've it doesn't have any like security like an iPhone. Like if you lose it, you know. So I'm sure there has been a lot of broken ones, a lot of lost ones, and the Wii, even though it was popular, it was only in your home. So because it was only in your home, it wouldn't break as much, it wouldn't be lost as much, which is what gave those sales, I believe, to the Switch.
So the Switch's success is because kids broke them and lost them.
I think it's a combination, not just that. I think it's a combination as that they're both really good consoles. They were just as good. I would agree that they're both just as good, but the fact that one doesn't have the sales of lost and broken consoles gave the edge to the Switch.
So some interesting stats. Nintendo's best-selling system, if you include handhelds and home consoles, if you don't separate them, it's the DS. The Nintendo
wasn't the GameCube more popular than the Wii?
No, I'm going to edit this out, George. The GameCube?
Yeah.
You mean the Game Boy?
The Game Boy, yeah, the Game Boy, yeah, the Game Boy, yeah. That's what
No, actually, the DS sold more. But
really?
The DS sold 154 million. Okay. Now, that's
the original DS.
The original DS.
Or is that all the DSs combined?
Like that does not include 3DS.
Does it include the big tablet one that doesn't fold?
Well, it includes the DS line, like the DS Lite, you know, the DS Lite XL.
What was the one that the Lite is the one that didn't fold, right?
Well, the DS and the 3DS both had XL models.
Yeah.
So I don't know which, but they both had. Yeah, it includes the XL models. Yeah.
Okay.
But it does not include 3DS.
But what happened to that? The one that doesn't fold?
That's a 3DS family.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah. So I mean, you could throw in another.
Separating 3DS. I mean, it was technically the same.
They separate the DS and the 3DS. So the DS sold 154 million, and the 3DS sold 75 million. So
and if you combine those two, how much? What are you talking about? Let's see.
Oh, don't make me do math right now live.
I'm gonna do it. How much is it?
You said 154 plus 75.
154 plus 75. So in total, let's say the DS did 230 almost. 229.
Right, but they don't count it that way. They count it as separate consoles. And they are separate consoles because the 3DS has its own line of games.
Okay.
So it is backwards compatible.
Yeah, but those games are just because they were giving you those 3D effects. But
no, the 3DS is a separate system than the DS. It is.
All
I mean, it is. I mean, it's just backwards
It
compatible.
didn't feel so much to me. It just felt like
No, because it's a
yeah, there were different games. Okay. I'll
no,
give
it's
you
a
that.
separate system. So the DS is the second best selling game system of all time. Number one is PlayStation 2. Now, I don't know if you know this, but up until recently, it was 155 million PlayStation 2 sold.
Okay.
So only 1 million more than the DS.
Okay.
Now, you can have your own theories on what I'm about to tell you, but Sony recently updated the PlayStation 2 sales numbers. The PlayStation 2 to
But
160
they were still
million.
selling some. I don't know if you knew that. There was a lot of inventory left over.
Well, I don't know, but they upped it to 160.
Okay.
So 160 PlayStation 2 sold, 154 DS sold.
Yeah.
The Switch is number 3 right now with 150.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think it could reach 154 or 160? That does not include the Switch 2, which isn't out yet.
I think in long term it might. Yeah.
There's a
Like-
reason I think
Because
it
it's going to
could-
be. I feel like the Switch still has a good. Like I think. Okay, so look at right now what's happening with the PlayStation 5. You know how many friends I have? Most of them are still on PlayStation 4. You want to know why? Because most of those games still play on PlayStation 4, and there's a handful of games that are only PlayStation 5 exclusive, and the ones that are exclusive, to be honest with you, they're not games that people are going, oh my god, I need to just switch to a PlayStation 5 to do this. Until most of them are saying until GTA 6 comes out, they're going to switch, and then. So I think the same thing is going to happen to the Switch. I think people are still going to buy the Switch and not the Switch 2 because there's going to be backwards compatibility and because I guess a lot of the games are going to still be compatible with the Switch 1. I'm sure there's going to be a few handful of games at the beginning that are only Switch 2 compatible, but it's not going to be enough to people not say, I'm not going to switch yet, and it's a lower price. And a parent I can see like, oh, he just needs a Switch. Let me get him the cheaper one. So I do see more sales for the Switch, even when the Switch 2 comes out. Is what
I
I'm
do
saying.
too.
So
and the reason I think it could hit 155 or even
especially
160.
the new price. The new price is expensive, man.
Well, I was going to say the original Switch has never had an official price drop ever. The base model is still 300, just like it was 8 years ago. And the OLED is still 350 and the light is still 200.
I think they're gonna drop that because the other one's 400 and what? Like 400 and
We don't know yet, but it's probably around 400 or maybe 450.
yeah,
but
so why would I don't think they're gonna switch that.
At some point they will, though. I mean, it could be 2 years from now. I mean, at some point, I think they'll have a price drop. Not right now, because people don't want to. Nintendo probably doesn't want to see a big price gap between the Switch 1
Only
and the
time I
Switch
can
2.
see them doing a price drop, even when the Switch 2 comes out, the only time I can see them do a price drop is when they finally decide not to make it anymore. And
That's what I mean, right? Yeah.
Then when they
at
get
some
rid of that
point,
inventory, maybe
Yeah.
that's when the big sales are going to come.
it could come at the end with
Yeah.
a big price drop and then just push them right over
Plus,
the
I can
top.
still see them releasing models like a new Zelda one or a new like themed
They might.
ones that people collectors just like buying them.
Yeah, because they kind of did that with the 3DS. They were releasing a lot of special editions.
But I don't know if you remember, there was a time when PlayStation was like people were saying they're still available, like you could still go and buy them. They released like a chunk that they had in their inventory, and I remember they were like talking about that, and people were like kind of curious, and I'm sure a lot of people bought them at the time, and they just probably got rid of that inventory that they had maybe stuck in a warehouse or something, which is what they ended up doing. Why they got the 160.
Well,
But
you know what?
yeah.
Some people credit the sales of the PlayStation 2. I don't give it a lot of credit, but
Yeah.
there might be some truth. Is that it was basically the most affordable DVD player at the time, and it's a PlayStation 2.
A combination thing was really cool. Yeah, it was really good to have that. And I did see a lot of people kind of like go like, hey, you know what? I can have both, and
Mhm.
yeah. And
I know
so
people that did that. And don't forget, the Xbox
yeah.
was not a DVD player out of the box.
No, no, they messed up on that. Yeah,
Yeah, you
that
had to
was a big.
buy something, right, for
Maybe
it.
that even was one of the reasons why people chose the PlayStation at the time, and also
And the Nintendo GameCube couldn't play DVDs either. I mean, like,
but you still have to give it credit for
of
not
course, that's what
being
I
a
mean. I said
portable.
I
For
don't
not
put too
being a
much into that.
portable, because I do see portables getting sales just like phones. Because you lose a phone, you could break a phone, it could be stolen. So I do see that creates a little bit more sales than
Mhm.
a console, but yeah, you still got to give it credit for that. But I could see what you're saying. That's an interesting point of view.
It's an interesting point of view, and I don't plan on taking another break from gaming like I did when my TV broke. I don't know about you, but we're on the road to 1 million subscribers. So
That's yeah.
talk about numbers.
Please subscribe because we want to hit the 100 million one, and that could be you.
100 million. No, I think 1 million
Yeah, I know
one
1
day.
million.
But all right, bro. I'm good.
We're out.